We are honored to have lead these conversations licensed attorney and professional fiduciary Darby Jones. Darby is a member of the Florida and Maryland bars and also serves on the executive council of the Real Property Probate Trust Law section of the Florida Bar. Darby is also the founder and president of the Professional Fiduciary Council of Florida. Darby has served in a variety of fiduciary capacities over the last 30 years, including power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, guardian, executor, as well as many other things. Today, she's going to help us figure out what happens when we call 911. What should we do? Darby, help us feel more comfortable with this situation.
Oh, well, I'm going to hopefully help you feel more comfortable because you need to be comfortable when and if an episode of a 911 call is in your lap. And I want to encourage all of you while we're going through this. I'm guessing that some of you have had an experience with 911 or an emergency. So if something occurs to you, if you want to share it with the group, please feel free to. I know I can't even count how many episodes with 911 with my clients and caregivers. So feel free. We're here to educate everybody. Every 911 situation is different, not only in that same city or county, but also from state to state. So feel free to add to the conversation today. I also wanted to tell you guys that if you've missed any episodes, as Chandra said, go to agingacademy.com or go to the web, YouTube under Aging Academy. And please let me know your thoughts and responses. AARP is very generous in supporting this program, and your responses and your filling out of the survey are their way of measuring whether we can keep doing this. So please take the time and effort to fill those out when you get it. Now, as you know, and as I say every episode, we're all aging together, right? None of us have done this before. So we're all new at it. We're all trying to learn the same thing. And I don't care where you are or what time zone you're in, we're all aging. So let's try to help each other with the new issues and circumstances that we're all facing. And I'm hoping these episodes are doing that. Today, we are going to talk about what happens and whether and when you should call 911. I attempted to have an actual EMT with me, fireman or EMT with me, but it became quite a challenge to get them to get away from their designated situation and be here. So what I did was I interviewed a couple of them and I got some great information. I also reached out to several of the caregivers that I've worked with over the years who have had many experiences together with me, with our clients. And what if we could had a microphone to be able to tell everybody out there what were some of the pieces of advice or information that they would share. So that's what I've put together here for you today. The first thing I want to start with is what to do before you might need to call 911. The first thing, and again, I've said this many times, but the most important thing that all of you need to have is a power of attorney. In addition to that, of course, you need a healthcare surrogate. Those are the two documents that name someone, hopefully someone you trust and is able to do the job, to serve as your advocate, your agent, your spokesperson, if and when something were to happen to you. And we don't know when these things happen. It could be a car accident, it could be a sudden event. And it sadly, very often it is usually a sudden event. So if I can't impress you hard enough, please reconsider your time and what you're doing for the rest of the week. If you don't have one, pick up the phone, find an attorney. I have a whole episode on just power of attorneys and how to locate attorneys to get one in place. The other thing that you need to do once you have that person in place is you need to sit down with that person and you need to talk, or persons with an S, and talk to them. Talk to them of what your fears are, what your concerns are, who your doctor is, what medicines you're on, what hospital you prefer to go to or not. If you have a pet, talk to them about who's going to come watch your pet, or who to call, who your vet is, any allergies, any metal in your body. One of the most common questions I get when I send someone to the hospital is there any metal in their body, so that they can do the MRIs without any difficulty. I have a form that I use for my clients, and I've over the years, this has been a really helpful tool for me. And I'm not sure if Chandra's in a position to be able to share a screen with you right now, but I call it my fiduciary information form. And it is just a piece of paper. I'm not looking for a lot of detail. Okay. A lot of these packaged estate planning, preparation kits are just a lot more detail than you really need. The truth of the matter is, you just need to tell me where to start. You know, who's your name of the doctor, who's the name of the specialist, and and in the financial realm, it would be who do you bank with, who's your investment advisor. I don't need to know account numbers, bank number, account numbers, passwords, any of that. Just give me the basics of where to start. And then more importantly is what you personally want and what your goals are. How do you see yourself aging? Because believe it or not, we are all heading there. And the biggest and best indication of how your aging journey is going to be health-wise is to look at your parents' journey. That's generally a pretty good indication of what you may or may not be experiencing. So prepare for that. What would your 90-year-old self be telling you to do today to prepare better for that phase? The next thing that you need, and I think do you have Chandra in the thing here of how to get that piece of paper?
I put a link in the chat and we'll go ahead and add it also into the resources on the website.
And if you need to email us and we can send you the document. If you're not able to download the link or whatever, just send us an email. We can send you the document for you to fill out. So the next thing that you should have ready before you need to call 911 is a go bag. And the go bag doesn't have to have a lot in it. Could just be a toothbrush, toothpaste, pair of pajamas, some clean underwear, pair of socks, maybe a little lap blanket. We all are always cold when we get to the hospital. A few little things, maybe a book, something that you want to just have on the ready to take to the hospital. Now, I'm going to talk in a minute about what you want to add to that go bag if and when the time happens. But that's one thing, you can just have it ready. It's not something you're going to miss. There are not things in there that you use on a daily basis. The other thing, and this is probably the most important thing, is to have information on the front of your refrigerator. EMTs are trained in every state that I have been able to determine that the first place that they go to look for personal medical information is the front of your refrigerator, the front or the side. So you want to make it super obvious. And that information and what they need the most are your name, your date of birth, very helpful. A list of current medications, make sure you keep that current. A copy of your power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, if not the name of the person who they should be calling, if that person is not there already, obviously. Names of friends or neighbors, if you don't have a power of attorney in place. The name of your vet, if you have a pet, or the name of the person to call to take care of the pet. Also, the name of your doctor, if you have any allergies, if you have any metal in your body, if you have any conditions that they should be aware of, and also if you have a DNR. Now, a DNR is a do not resuscitate, and it needs to be in Florida. A DNR is only valid if it's on a really bright yellow piece of paper. So those of you who have DNRs or need to get a DNR, they are issued by your physician, not an attorney. at least in Florida. Those are not legal documents, they're medical documents. But you want to make sure you have the appropriate DNR on your refrigerator. And in Florida, it needs to be that yellow one. Now, you may not want to look at that thing every day, all day. So put an envelope, tape it up there, put bright letters on it, emergency information. Now, we also here at the Professional Fiduciary Council of Florida, we have a little wallet size emergency kind of packet. It looks like an old business card holder that you can fold and you can put in your purse or also tape it to the refrigerator. And in here, you can put information. The name of your doctor, the stuff we just talked about, your name, date of birth, name of your doctor, allergies, medicines, who to call, and so forth. And if you want to send us an email, we're happy to mail one of these to you. No problem at all. Just send either Chandra or myself an email, and happy to do that. Now, there is another, well, we're getting in a second. The other thing I want you to do is once you get that information together, make several copies. Don't just have one copy of that information. Obviously, put one in the thing that you're putting on the refrigerator, but have a spare copy in your purse or nearby or in that red wallet, because I'm going to talk to you later about how those things disappear very quickly when 911 arrives. Now, also, there is a link to the life file. Oh, did we show that already, Chandra? Copy of, there is a fire department, I believe it's in California, and they are providing an actual form that they will provide for you to fill out. And you can see right there, number 4, they say, put it on the side of your refrigerator. So those are, that's just a sample. There is, I think, there's a link there that you can go to order one of these if you would like. Obviously, this is for a different county and all that, but the information is certainly a prompt for you to perhaps add to your own emergency information form. So that's another resource. Another thing you want to do before 911 comes is to find out from your primary care physician what hospital they prefer. Now, it doesn't matter really when it's happening, but you can try to go to the hospital that your doctor prefers. It's not always going to happen, but it's good to know where that doctor would prefer you to go. And you also want to make sure your address is obvious. The address on your home, whether it's an apartment number, whether it's a mailbox, you want to have lights outside. You want to make it easy for that EMT to find you. Now, if there are some weird directions or monuments or landmarks that you want to communicate to people, be aware of what those are. Go to the third tree and there's an alley or whatever it is. If it's difficult finding your resident, make sure you explain that as best you can. And also another thing that I would encourage all of you to consider is a life alert system, an electronic alert system. And there are a lot out there now, and especially now with smartphones and watches and Siri and Alexa and all that, there are a lot of ways to perhaps really improve the ability to call an alert an emergency, even if you're by yourself. And if you do have a life alert or any of those systems, you want to test them occasionally, maybe the first of every month. Just remember to test it, make sure it's working, make sure they've got the right number, make sure they're contacting the right individuals. If you change those people, you want to make sure you change your life alert notifications. In Florida, also, we have the DMV, the Motor Vehicle Department. They are able on their website to receive information on who to call in case of emergency. So you might want to check the state in which you are as to whether your DMV system is able to take that information. That way, when you go to the hospital or when you arrive at any institution, they can scan or slice your driver's license and find out who to call. That's a huge benefit. And I have actually had many of those calls come to me as a result of us putting that information on there. Because obviously things can happen when you're not at home, right? You don't have your refrigerator with you. So that information is certainly helpful on your driver's license. You want to also have a way to get in the home. I know it's not comfortable leaving a key outside anywhere, but if you can hide a key somewhere and that's safe, please do so, or a way to get in the home, or if it's an electronic, the code, make sure the code is somewhere that somebody can access. Um, the the gentleman I spoke to here in Florida said that you can call your local rescue service and give them that information, and they will have it on your file. So when they receive a call from that address, it will populate as to what the code is, or where the key is hidden, or how to best get into the home. So wherever you are, I recommend that you call your local EMT service and ask if you can give them that information. Or you might have a back door where a key is a little easier to hide, and they give them the directions to go to the back door. So that's another good thing for you to be able to do. And I think that's probably legit everywhere, not just Florida. You also, before the bad thing happens, you want to make sure you understand what the real symptoms of a stroke are. And also, what are the not obvious, what are the important symptoms of a heart attack? Because those are the two things, probably the two most frequent reasons to call 911 promptly. And so sometimes those symptoms are not super obvious. So I'm not a doctor, and I'm not here to give you those symptoms, but you should educate yourself the next time you go to the doctor and ask, what should I look for, either in myself or my loved one, to know whether a stroke is underway or whether a heart attack is underway? Because if you look at I'm going to make a reference here to my mini medical school episode, which was fantastic. We do go into depth about some of these symptoms and how they are different depending on your gender and your age. So I highly encourage you to go and watch my mini med school episode. I think Chandra's going to be able to put a link in here, I hope. Now, I don't want to totally ignore Fall Prevention Week, and because I know that's sort of in the title of this episode. And obviously, falls are one of the most common calls they get. Not that heart attacks and strokes aren't the most important ones, but falls tend to be some of the most frequent ones. Now, so fall prevention, there's plenty of information on the internet. You've probably read all kinds of articles about fall prevention. So I don't want to totally ignore it, but just to remind you, some of the things are pretty obvious. But one of the things I think is most important is to stay active. You need to move every day, whether it's just walking around your own living room, but you've got to keep yourself as mobile as you possibly can. With that will, of course, come the keeping your balance and your range of motion as healthy as you possibly can. You also want to make your residence safe. And again, some of this is pretty obvious, but you want to, if your lights are not super bright as we get older, as in mini med school, our eyes are not as well equipped to adjust to lights. Sometimes you might need to increase the wattage of those lights in your home. Sometimes the lights are not even bright enough to help in a time of an emergency. You also want to make sure that you declutter any rugs or piles of stuff or dog toys or things that may or may not really get into a problem in an emergency situation. And also, don't be bashful about using a cane or a walker. Doesn't mean you don't have to be embarrassed about it. It happens. So don't be bashful about, even if it's just in the evenings when you feel like you need some assistance getting to the bathroom. That's just one of the most frequent times falls happen is at night, and very often when we're getting up to go to the bathroom. Now with lighting, there are lights now that you can put on the floor that are motion detectors. So when you stand up to go to the restroom, sometimes lights can be put in places that go on to show you where you're walking and how to avoid any falls at that time. And lastly, I'm just going to say again, these are things that are on the internet all over the place about fall prevention, but to wear the right footwear. Okay. As much as we love stilettos and all the cute shoes that are out there, my high heel days are over. And so I would encourage everybody to just really be careful about your shoes and feeling safe and secure walking. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit about what to do before 911 calls. So now what happens when we call 911? When to call? Now, I will tell you the EMTs that I interviewed and the caregivers that I interviewed all said the same thing. Don't be hesitant to call. Don't be embarrassed to call. Don't think, oh, I don't want to bother them. I'm embarrassed. I'm in the bathroom. I fell. I don't really want anybody coming in here and seeing me. You know what? They've seen it all and they've probably seen a lot worse. So don't be embarrassed. Try not to concern yourself with that. This is their job. They are there to help you. They've seen it, been there, done that. It's not going to bother them. You're not inconveniencing them. They are there to help you. So don't let that be a hindrance to call. In fact, everyone I spoke to said it's better to call than not call and be sorry that you didn't. But at the same time, they also said, do not call if you really don't need it. So for example, he gave an example that this lady was falling 2 or 3 times a day, and she would call multiple times a day for them to come over and help her. Now, these falls were not obviously dangerous. She didn't break anything or need to be sent to the hospital. She just needed help getting up. And that sadly, while she needs the help, their time going there every day is time that they are now not able to respond to perhaps another person that had a serious injury. So if you are in a situation where you need help, but it may not be an emergency, there are non-emergency numbers that you can call. So make sure you know what those numbers are. I mean, we all know 911, but it's usually a regular phone number. That's the non-emergency number. So again, I guess some little homework today, not only get your power of attorney, but find out what the non-emergency phone number is for your residence so you have it handy. There also is no charge for 911. I know you all know that, but I just wanted to make sure that don't worry about it costing you anything. 911 is a free service, at least in most jurisdictions. So don't let that be a reason not to call. Oop, I'm sorry about that. I should have turned off my phone. Um, I'm going to also say one of the things they said that's so important is to please have your address clear. Numbers on the door, the driveway, put the lights on, make it obvious as to where you are. It can waste a lot of valuable time for them trying to find you. And a definition that is good to have, not that you need to remember this, but to think about when to call 911, when, quote, life-threatening emergency like chest pain, severe bleeding, difficulty breathing, unconsciousness, or an ongoing crime or fire, of course. So those are true emergencies. Maybe some of the other issues that you're thinking about right now could be on the non-emergency line. When you do call, please speak clearly and calmly, which is hard. I don't know about you, but I listen to a lot of murder mysteries at night. That seems to be the way I go to sleep at night, whatever, 48 Hours or True Detective or whatever it is. And I'm always frustrated at how the 911 calls are always on the phone. They keep asking them these obvious questions that And I feel like, golly, doesn't the person want to go help the person that needs help and not be sitting here on the phone? And he explained that in that it's really important to get as much information as you can, because that moment is when the person's probably going to be the most, not only honest, but the most verbose in what they're saying. So they, of course, it's all being recorded. So it's important to get as much information as possible. And they want to keep you on the line as long as possible in case something were to happen, and you have someone on the line, and they can patch you into either someone in the ambulance on their way, for example, how to do CPR. That dispatcher can patch that person in, that can give you instructions on CPR and so forth. So while it's annoying, I guess, or maybe that's just TV, but if they're talking to you, just keep talking to them. Um, again, make sure that you give them the gate codes or any, the code on the door to get in. Uh, and if you, again, if it's not urgent and it's not an emergency and you can, he recommends going to those walk-in clinics. Now in Florida, there's probably one of those on every corner. It's a little crazy, actually. And I don't know in your jurisdiction if you have access to these clinics, but he recommends that, for example, even a broken arm is definitely something you can go to the clinic to, because they will have an x-ray machine and be able to fix the arm without you having to go to the ER and wait for however many hours to have the same services done. Now, I will warn you that I think insurance could be an issue in that. I've had people tell me that going to the clinic sometimes costs more because their insurance wouldn't cover the walk-in clinics. So you might want to just ask your insurance carrier that question, or next time you re-up your supplement, ask if those kind of services are included. Okay, so you've called 911. What if the person is refusing to go or refuses to let you call 911? What do you do? Well, if you're there, that sounds like you're that person's advocate, or you may actually be their healthcare surrogate or power of attorney. You must be their advocate. Okay, so you must do what's in their best interest. Don't let them talk you out of calling 911. And if you do call them and they come and everything's fine, no harm, no foul. Okay, so don't let someone keep you from doing what you think is the right thing to do. The EMTs, they sometimes may say, "Oh, she's fine. I don't think she needs to go to the hospital." Well, I have had experience where no, she's not fine. And the problem is that the EMTs are not familiar with that particular person's history and their fragility with their bones and so forth. And so thankfully, caregivers who are there are saying, no, she needs to go because she has a certain condition that makes it important for her to go. And so don't be bashful if the EMTs are reluctant to take her, to tell them, no, you take her. So you are their advocate. That's the job of a power of attorney or a healthcare surrogate. And you've got to be willing and able to take that job seriously. And sometimes you got to put your feet down to do that. Now, another thing I always wonder is, okay, let's say I'm visiting my mother in Michigan and I'm calling 911 from my cell phone. How in the world are they going to know where I am? First of all, I can't remember my mom's address off the top of my head, which is why you should write it on that emergency information. But how are they going to know I'm here? Well, apparently they do. They have actually a new system now where it's called the 3 words. Not sure if that's in every jurisdiction. He couldn't really explain the technology behind it to me, but apparently there are 3 words they can ask you to say, and that's going to give them the coordinates of where you physically are, regardless of whether you're calling from a cell phone that you personally are coming from Florida with. Okay, so that's a relief, I think. Also, there is a video that I would like to show you where, for those of you out there that have smartphones, whether Droid or Apple, there are some really beneficial tools that you can activate in your phone for this very purpose. So let's see if we can get that going. It's only a 2-minute video, but I think it's fantastic.
In an emergency, every second counts.
This guy, Rich Jamiro, showing us how to call for help fast using smart devices in today's Rich on Tech. Good morning.
Yeah, last night's earthquake alerts, probably a lot of people rattled by them.
The system worked.
The system did work. In my house, we got about a 15-second, I just watched the tape, we got about a 15-second heads up. But my point is, when something like that happens, even if you're prepared, you're not always thinking clearly.
Right.
And so that got me to thinking, many of us wear a smartwatch or carry a smartphone, but do you know how to activate these emergency shortcuts to call for help fast? So today I'm showing you how to do that on both the iPhone, the Android, and the smartwatches.
If you need help fast, here's how to use the shortcut on your device to dial 911. On Samsung phones, press the side button 5 times. By default, you'll have to swipe up to confirm dialing 911, but you can make it immediate in the settings. On Google Pixel, press the side button 5 times, then touch and hold the screen for 3 seconds. Again, you can make your phone dial immediately in settings. On the iPhone, press and hold the side button and either volume button for a few seconds. There's also an option to trigger a 911 call by pressing the side button 5 times fast. Keep in mind, it's a good idea to visit the emergency SOS section of your smartphone to set up any emergency contacts you want to automatically notify if you dial 911. Now, when it comes to watches, on the Apple Watch, press and hold the side button to call for help. This is the flat button, not the round one. On the Google Pixel Watch, press the round crown button 5 times fast. After a brief countdown and alarm, it will dial. And on the Samsung Watch, press the home key 5 times fast. That's the upper key on the side of the watch. Keep in mind, on Fitbit devices, there isn't currently a way to quickly call for help. So what about using your voice? You can ask Siri to call 911 and Google Assistant too. And while Alexa can't directly dial 911, Amazon does have a subscription service called Alexa Emergency Assist, which will connect you to a trained agent for help.
Always a good idea to familiarize yourself with these emergency features before you actually need them. Just be careful if you're testing them out not to call 911 accidentally. I'm going to put
Okay, I know it was fast, and I'm not a tech person, but the point here is that there are ways there. So whatever phone you have, go to your provider, whether it's Verizon or whoever, and have them show you. And you might need to refresh your memory and write it down. But I'm not expecting everybody to have taken all the notes in that short clip, but it's just important to know that it's there, and you need to go find out how your phone works. And I had no idea about the 5 thing on the side. I think that's pretty cool. I also see in the chat a little bit about the cost of an ambulance. Okay, when I said that they don't cost anything, I'm talking about the EMTs, the emergency medical technicians. They do not cost anything. When they show up, they're the first ones there. Typically, the ambulance will come later, even though it may be a few seconds. The ambulances, typically, not everywhere, I'm only familiar with here in Florida, are private companies. You've seen lots of ambulances driving around. They all have a different kind of sign or logo. They're a different private company. So the EMTs, there is no cost. But then if you need an ambulance and if you need to get in that ambulance and be transported somewhere, there is a cost to that. But you may not always need to go. You may not need the ambulance after all. So I wanted to clarify that. And I'm also seeing in here that you can definitely negotiate medical bills. Don't ever be bashful about that. Okay, so the other misconception about ambulances is that sometimes here people say, oh, I'm going to take an ambulance so I can miss the big fat line at the ER, because there's whatever, an hour or 2 or 3 wait at the ER. I'll take an ambulance. That way I get to the front of the line. At least here, that is not reality. A lot of people think that, but it's not the truth. If you are in an ambulance because you, let's say, broke your arm, you're going to get to the ambulance, the hospital. They're going to assess you and prioritize you like everybody there. So if you're not an urgent matter, they're going to put you in the ER and let you sit there just like everybody else is waiting to be seen. If it's a critical matter, then yes, obviously you're going to be taken in for treatment right away. So don't think that that's any way to button line at the ER. I wish it were, but it's just not. And again, you're going to maybe be wasting time and resources that may be otherwise better spent with some other emergency. So don't think that that's any big, secret to getting to be seen faster. I wish it were, but it's not. Okay, so now what happens when they show up? Obviously, you want to be calm as you can be. And this is if you're the patient or if you're the advocate who's there on behalf of the patient. Try to be as calm. Remember to be a strong advocate for yourself. If you don't have someone there, but if you are that person there, please be a strong advocate for your loved one. That's a lot of the reason why you're there. Obviously the address again, and you want to turn on all the lights outside. If you can leave the person, let's say you're able to, if the person's stabilized, you can go outside, turn on some lights, maybe even stay there and meet the fire engine or rescue squad. That's even better. You don't want to leave the patient unless it's safe to do so, of course. But once they are there, you want to get out of the way and you want to communicate as best as possible all that medical information, and they'll probably be asking you anyway, all the medical information that was important that was in that little envelope. What is she allergic to? Does she have a history of this? Are there any, issues about her body that we need to know of right away? What medications is she taking, etc. They may go, if there isn't an envelope on the refrigerator or there isn't anything in her purse, they may go in the purse and try to find information, and they may not even know who she is. So they'll be looking for a driver's license, they'll be looking for some way, and if not, they'll find mail. Sometimes they just look around for mail in the home to try to figure out who is this person. They also, if you're there, take notes, take pictures, ask questions. If no one is home and they have to, if the door is locked, they can't get in, they do have a what he called a respectful entry kit. Not sure what that is, but there's a respectful entry kit out there. Well, they will access your home, the door. If it doesn't work, and they do have to tear your door down or break a door down, they'll go around the house, they'll try to get in windows, they'll try everything they can before that. But if that's what's left, they will tear down your door to get in. And let's say you're there alone, okay, and they haul you off to the hospital. Well, there's your house with no front door, which is something that you're going to stress about. Well, don't stress about it. Apparently, they call the police. The police will come and the police will secure your home if they've had to do that. They will notify the police officer will come and protect your home and secure it if that had to happen. If you have pets in the home, again, in your emergency information, you hopefully have given the name of a neighbor who might be able to come over and give water or food to the dog. Again, this is way back in the beginning. I talked about being prepared before 911. So you want to talk to that neighbor, that friend, that whomever, that, hey, here's where the food is. This is what she eats, blah, blah, blah. Here's the name of my vet if anything were to happen to me. Do not give the EMTs your papers. Don't hand them the papers because they are not necessarily going to go to the hospital. The EMTs are there to prepare you, to stabilize you, to put you in the ambulance if you're going to go to the hospital. So at the end of the day, you're leaving in an ambulance. They're in a whole different vehicle. They don't give them your paperwork because it'll get lost. I don't recommend giving it to the ambulance either. What I recommend is one of two things. you're either going to ask the ambulance company if you can ride with, and if you do, they typically will put you in the front, not in the back. And some companies won't let you, but you can ask. Or the alternative, of course, is to drive separately. And that's when you want to take your papers with you. And you want to have more than one copy. I can't say this strongly enough. Because when you get to that ER and you hand that paperwork to that admissions nurse, it's gone. Okay, it disappears. And then an hour later, they're asking you for the med list. And you say, well, I gave it to, Hoogie Bob. Well, she's long gone. Nobody knows where it is. And so now you don't have the list anymore. So make sure you have more than one copy of whatever that important information is. And I'd recommend even more than 2 copies, because sometimes you can give it to the ER, they'll put it in the system. The ER and the rest of the hospital, sometimes they don't talk very well together. So the ER is doing their thing, they discharge to the hospital. Now the hospital doesn't have any information. So once you go to the floor, wherever your loved one was moved to, now you got to start all over again. So make sure you have multiple copies of all of that good information. I hate to say that, but that's reality. It just does happen. The ER is a hectic place. They don't obviously intend to lose it, but it just happens. The gentleman also said that, let's say it's your mom, she's called 911, she's called you to say, hey, honey, my eye just fell out, I'm calling 911, and hang up, and then 911 gets there and you're calling her, you're calling the phone to try to get information. They're not going to answer the phone. I'm just telling you. He said that they don't answer the phone because once they do, it's you start asking too many questions and they're trying to really do what they need to be doing. So sadly, that's not the case. The best scenario would be to call the neighbor who you are aware of, right? And then the neighbor's going to go over there and then tell you what's going on. So again, preparation is loud and clear here is the key. So again, you don't want to go with the hospital in the ambulance because really, let's say it is critical, it's a horrible situation, and they put her in the ambulance. She's heading to the hospital, and you're, oh my God, I want to be with my loved one. The best thing really is to take your own car, because when they do arrive at the hospital, if anybody's been in these situations, it takes a minute for them to even let you see the person, because they're doing triage. They're running around. They got people all around that patient. So it's going to be a while before they even are able to come out and talk to you about what's going on. So while you're making a mad dash to the hospital, you're going to get there and probably have to wait. So don't panic, be calm. And that's when you get that go bag. And that's when you add to the go bag any glasses or cell phone, charger, any things that may be needed. Don't take hearing aids. Please don't take hearing aids. They always disappear, and hearing aids are a pain in the neck. So don't take any valuables. Don't take any hearing aids. Glasses, phone, and charger are super important. But that's your opportunity to then get that bag in order and meet at the hospital. They're not going to, if you run out to the ambulance and say, oh, the doctor said to take her to, Baptist Hospital. That's where the doctor wants her to go. The ambulance is not necessarily going to do that. You can recommend that or ask it, but they are, it really depends. I mean, man, in COVID, it really was difficult because so many ERs were packed and hospitals were full. So they had to redirect patients to various hospitals for various reasons. In St. Petersburg, where I am, we have several hospitals. So you can ask for a particular one, but they're going to go to the one that has availability and the least wait. And also they're going to go to the one that maybe has the specialty that your issue is presenting. A cardiac issue versus a stroke issue. There's certain hospitals have specialties for certain types of trauma. So while you can say a preference and it may work, don't be upset if that's not the case. But do get them to tell you what hospital they are going to. Don't let them drive off without them telling you where they're going, because it can be hard to figure that out later if you don't know. And I said, don't, and don't take any prescription drugs or medications to the hospital. That doesn't go in the go bag. Okay. Hospitals will not let you dispense any medications that aren't issued through their pharmacy. So don't even bother taking them. Take the list of what your loved one's taking, but don't take the medicines themselves. And now, who do you notify? Again, this is part of that form that the fiduciary information form, your power of attorney, your healthcare surrogate, whoever you've named in those roles, you need to tell them, hey, when I go to the hospital, these are the people I want you to call, or these are the people I don't want you to call. And that list can be very different depending on the situation. Like if I die, these are the people I want you to call. If I go to the hospital, these are the people I want you to call. So you'd want to have a clearer picture of what you as that person's advocate or yourself. You want to give that information to people on who to call, who not to call, if something were to happen to you. And there's another episode I did called My Mom Broke Her Hip. Now what? And I go through the whole admissions to the hospital, through the administration, through discharge. And that's a super important episode. A lot of good tips on how to manage and have a successful stay at the hospital, which can go sideways pretty fast. So here in sum, get your estate planning documents together. And again, to me, the most important thing is your power of attorney and your healthcare surrogate. Review your personal preferences and goals with the person you've named in those documents. Get a DNR if it's appropriate. A DNR is not a do not treat, but what it is if there is a cardiac arrest, they're not going to try to revive you. That's what that DNR will accomplish. I know that sounds scary, but if you really get a medical perspective about what happens, you may really want a DNR, especially as we age. And again, that's from your doctor, not your lawyer. If you're leaving your home for a long trip, and you're going to be gone, leave a note there at your home. Always update your medications, keep them organized, get rid of old ones. So if you didn't get around to making that list and someone goes in your medicine cabinet and just grabs everything because they don't know what you're taking or not, it's going to be confusing. So make sure you keep your medications organized, up to date. You can also have a physical therapist. Some physical therapists specialize in home assessments. You can have a physical therapist come to your home and do an assessment on how to modify your home or the home of your loved one. It may not be everything all at once. You might just do baby steps, maybe do some grab bars in the bathroom or by the toilet, in the shower, tub, etc. Maybe some lighting that they can help you with. Some of those motion detector lights that I spoke of, they're going to be very familiar with those. So that's something I think a good investment for all of us to maybe think about. Even now, they'll talk about maybe the furniture arrangements. They'll talk about some of the clutter in the home, that kind of thing. Food for thought. Make plans for your pets. Again, we've talked about the dangers of not having that plan in place. Have a go bag in place. And also be sure, and the people I talked to said repeatedly, don't call 911 for non-emergencies. If you can handle a non-emergency call, do that, or go to a local clinic. Save the 911s while they're happy to come, and it's their job. Just be aware that when you're calling them, you're keeping them from being able to respond to a call that may be more important. Another, I thought, interesting comment that was made on more than one occasion was how bad the calls are from facilities. And as many of you probably know, I'm not the biggest fan of institutional care. While I know some places are fabulous, and they are, and sometimes it's a necessary step. But the challenge is, at least from these people that I spoke with, is that facilities are very quick to send someone out to the hospital. It may not be a very serious thing, but they don't want the liability. They don't want to be in charge of the issue, so they're just going to send people out. And that can be a real traumatic event, especially for people in memory care or fragile. It's very upsetting for anybody to be put in an ambulance and taken somewhere. So not that there's much we can do about that. I mean, facilities are going to do what facilities do. But what I would recommend is if you have a loved one in a facility and they do send them out, that you follow up with the hospital, because a facility is not going to. They say they will, but they don't. So you need to be on it and call that ER and get with that case manager ASAP. Again, watch that video. My mom fell. Now what? I think it'll really empower you guys for that hospital piece of this. Now we've covered a heck of a lot. So I'm at the end. I have not had an opportunity to read anything in the comments. It looks like there's a lot of good stuff. But our next episode in October is my last one of 2025. I'm going to talk about the 10 mistakes that we tend to make as we age, the top 10 mistakes. So I hope you don't miss that one. And also, please fill out those surveys that come. I would love for AARP to continue to support this. I feel like I enjoy these probably more than anybody out there, but I really enjoy being able to help people and just with practical, authentic information, not just some brochure somewhere. And if you feel the same way, please let the AARP know. Please go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and become a visitor there. That's always helpful. And if anybody has anything they want to share, please do. And Chandra, did we have any questions in here?
We had some good ones, but I will tell you, someone was saying how important it was. They were on a plane recently and someone had a medical episode and they had on them their list of meds and all of the important things. And they were saying that they were sitting next to this person on the plane and witnessed it firsthand how important it is to have that. So even when you're traveling, have it in your billfold.
Actually, that's a very good point. And I get questions often. Let's say I'm in Florida, I'm driving up to Maryland. I am in a car accident in North Carolina. Is my power of attorney and my healthcare surrogate obvious to them? No, it's not. So I should have a copy with me. Or like I said, on my driver's license, they can scan that and find out who to call. So, and we all travel a lot. So that's a very good point. Very, very good. I was
Go ahead.
I was on a flight recently as well, and the I've never had a medical emergency happen on a flight, but it did. And the stewardess went up there and said, "Hey, if anybody, do we have any medical professionals on flight?" And I was shocked how many lights were. They said push the light. It was amazing how many people on that flight were medical professionals. The lady next to me pushed it, and she was an OBGYN nurse, and I'm like, wow, I feel pretty safe. So
Some notes, lots of notes about the motion sensors on your lights, in case the power goes out. That's really helpful. There's a lot of beds now that when your feet move off the bed will light up underneath. So don't forget about that. Renee told us about an app called Snug. If you don't check in by a certain time, they'll check in on you and make sure you're doing okay. We're always on the third Thursday of every month. The email to get a card, I'm going to put that in the chat right now. It's info@professionalfiduciarycouncil.org. Or if you go to the Aging Academy website, you can actually email Darby directly. Her email is down there on the bottom of that webpage, agingacademy.com. Let me just check.
And the YouTube channel, YouTube is just Aging Academy. Just look for Aging Academy. This episode will be posted there along with all my previous episodes. You can watch them anytime, as often as you like. I appreciate any feedback. Margaret, I see you have your hand up. Do you want to put it in the chat or do you have something you want to say? You're on mute.
There you go. There you go.
Hi.
There you go.
I just want to say You are wonderful. I've been following you for 2 years, and every session, even the session I didn't think was going to have much information, ended up being so useful. So I just would like to say that I have called the ambulance 3 times, 2 times for my mom when she was dying of lung cancer. And the reason I called was suddenly she says, I can't breathe. So what I did back then, and I was rather young also, and being an extremely shy person, I spent a lot of time rehearsing what I was going to say. And also, I try to calm myself as each time I rehearse. And then another time was at the time, my boyfriend, now my husband, had an emergency. But what I found is when you need to call the emergency, the patient is very nervous and scared. And so you had to be extremely calm. I ended up having to calm the patient each time. And because one was freaking out and the people around were freaking out. So I had to be the calm one. So I just find it's really helpful to rehearse many times. And also, I also figure out at my house, like the things to help the 911 to find it. Like I have a fire hydrant in front of my house, and I had the mailbox across from my house. So I gave them all that information to help them locate. And speaking of the key outside of the house, what we have done is we have a lockbox in the garage. So I just hope that my experiences will help, like, add to your information.
Well,
And
thank you.
also, I don't know why back then, all 3 times, they had me sit with the patient in the back.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, which now that I'm much older, I can't do it because I would get nauseous.
That's a heck of a ride, Margaret. You better hold on back there. Thank
Yeah.
you all for being here. Margaret is really showing you all exactly what you need to do in your life, and that is stay calm because you're the person that's going to be there to help them all. So thank
And
you
it's
all
true
for
that
being
the
here.
lockbox is great. And don't forget that if you have a code, you can call your local rescue service and give them that information and they'll have it in their system, which I think is fabulous. So Margaret, and thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. And
No, I just hope you can keep doing this even next year. So I do complete the surveys, but I don't know if they listen to me
oh,
or
they
not.
do. They do.
So,
Mhm.
but I'm sorry, I have a health problem with my speech, so I hope I'm clear enough. But I just really, really thank you and thank Florida and ARP for doing all these sessions.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
thank you
very
so much.
Okay, anybody else have anything to share? If not, we'll see you in October for the 10 mistakes that we're all making as we age, but we're not going to make them after my session. Talk to y'all later. Have a good month.
Sounds wonderful. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.